Hello, welcome to a series of Warhammer Fantasy battle reports recorded at a tournament at Mighty Titan Hobbies and Games in New Jersey on the 8th of December. These were 2,500-point matches. It was a 3-game tournament. The missions were chosen from the rulebook, excluding the Watchtower mission. I believe you could get a total of 20 points based on the victory point spread between you and your opponent, 3 points for a win, and the total, the person with the highest number of points at the end of the would be the winner. First place, I believe, was $60 in prize support from GW products, and then $20 for second place. I took my standard 2,500 point Empire list. Anyone who's watched my channel has seen me use this list very frequently in my games against Anthony. I have a level 4 Lore of Shadow Wizard Lord. He has a 5-up ward save and a dispel scroll. My general is the Archlector with the Armor of Destiny. He has a shield and just a mundane hand weapon. My BSB is a captain with full plate and a shield with a 4-up ward save via the Talisman of Preservation. He also has the Iron Curse icon to give his unit a 6-up ward save against war machine shooting. I have a Warrior Priest who rides a Barded Warhorse. He has heavy armor and an enchanted shield and the Crown of Command. That means he has a 1-up armor save and is stubborn. I then have a Witch Hunter with just a brace of pistols who acts as as like challenge bait and magic resistance 2 in addition to his goofy Witch Hunter specific rules. I have a block of 29 swordsmen, full command. The Wizard Lord tends to go in there. I have 10 skirmishing archers, 11 inner circle knights, full command. With the steel standard, this removes the penalty for barding and allows them to reroll any 1s they roll during overrun, flee, pursuit, and charge. That totals up to 25.7% spent on core, so pretty much as close as I could get without overspending on Empire core, which isn't really great. Great swords, I've wanted a big horde of them, 38, full command with a standard of discipline. The Archlector is leadership 9, he tends to go in there, so he's projecting a bubble of leadership 10. A unit of 5 Pistoliers with a musician, a unit of 3 Demigryph Knights with a musician, the Celestial Hurricanum, and then rounding out the list is the Steam Tank. I'm not going to do this summary for every match. I'm actually just going to refer back to this video for games 2 and 3. But I just figured I would actually put the list out here with all the math and all that behind it. Game 1 was Blood and Glory. That's the your standards and breaking point. We're a 2,500 point match, so breaking point is 3. I was playing Andrew, who you saw his pirate-themed Empire on Anthony's channel. He did a long montage of Andrew's pirate-themed Empire army. He ran 2 lizards, a level 4 of metal, and a level 2 of fire, a boatload of generic captains that are all themed as various pirates. Jack Sparrow, I believe, is his general. His BSB was a treasure map with a skull on it. It's just a tremendously themed army. I would sum it up as detachment heavy, but you'll see in a few slides. The table that we played on was a desert-themed table. The only thing of note was that the 2 main ruins on the table were deemed impassable. And Andrew deployed first and will, pardon me, I think this was the standard rotating deployment, and he won the role to go first. So here you can see the table. We have those 2 main ruins are actually impassable terrain, which is a big pain in the neck. However, Blood and Glory deployment is you can't deploy close to the board edge, but you can deploy 9 inches away from the center of the table instead of 12 inches. So Andrew's Pirate Empire army is very shooting focused. He has a Marienburg landship, which kind of functions as equivalent to a steam tank. It's a little less resilient. It only has a 3-up armor save, but it's toughness 6 with 12 wounds and a 6-up ward save. So it's goofy. It's got a light cannon instead of a regular cannon, so it's strength 7 causing D3 wounds instead of strength 10 causing D6 wounds. But it's still very dangerous. It doesn't have the boiler rule. It has a rule for random movement if something goes wrong attempting to charge or move very quickly. But it's very reliable. It's unbreakable, and it's absolutely a beautiful centerpiece to the army. You can see Andrew actually brought out crates and barrels and treasure chests and various booty to mark out the deployment zone, and then deployed a little setback from that line. He has two large units of handgunners and various shooting things, so it's in his best interest to make me advance to him. So starting from the left, you have his Marienburg landship, about 300 points. I want to say 16 handgunners, deployed 8 wide. He's got a mortar and a cannon in the back. In between those handgunners set in the woods next to the BSB is a Hellblaster volley gun. In the center of those two pieces of artillery in the back, the mortar and the cannon, is a master engineer. I forget exactly which pirate themed character that is, but that's what he is. Then a unit 6 wide, 30 or 35, I can't really remember exactly how many, maybe 36 swordsmen. In that unit is Jack Sparrow, his general, and his BSB. A detachment of 15 halberdiers, with boarding hooks. Or maybe that's Jack Sparrow, pardon me, in the back behind him. I think he might have kept him out of that unit for deployment. And the Laura Fire Wizard is in the red coat on the right-hand side, behind that other unit of handgunners. And his Metal Wizard is actually obscured behind the Hellblaster volley gun. You can't really see him. But his level 4 is on the left and his level 2 is on the right. And then on the right-hand side, you can see that's the Fire Wizard standing separate behind that unit. That is a unit of, I want to say like 36 handgunners in, or maybe even more, maybe like 38. I don't really remember. It's huge. It's a big unit of handgunners. And then on the right-hand side is another unit of swordsmen or free company or something like that. It's just another detachment of, a nasty detachment. I love the use of the Ogre Maneater as a placeholder. This army was an absolute delight to fight against because everything was very just colorful and well painted, which is kind of rare to see on my channel because none of my stuff is ever painted. I'm going to say that unit of handgunners, now that I'm actually counting it up, it's 3 ranks of 12 each. So it's at least 36, plus a couple guys in the back. It's probably an even 40, with a captain standing on that cannon in that unit as well. All of his captains were armed with mundane mundane gear, and they all took pistols, as befits a pirate-themed army. Here's just a shot of the landship. It is a tremendous model. I mean, Forge World makes excellent stuff, but this is, the paint job was nice. He crammed it full of pirates. I believe each pirate on there represents one of the 12 wounds that the ship has. It's just an excellent kit. And here's another shot of the landship as well. So starting from my left, I have my 5 Pistoliers, the Steam Tank, the 29 Swordsmen with the Wizard Lord, 10 Skirmishing Archers in that marsh, the Horde of Greatswords with the 3 characters, the Celestial Hurricane behind it, Inner Circle Knights, and the Demigryph Knights. So I'm going to use this slide to discuss the victory objectives for this match. As you remember, this is a Blood and Glory scenario. Since it's a 2,500 point match, that means that the breaking point is 3. And each army has a fortitude level, which is calculated by totaling up the number of standards in the army, plus 1 for the BSB and 2 for the general. Now, my opponent, despite having a tremendous number of infantry on the table, has a single unit standard, a single point from his BSB, and 2 points from his general, meaning his fortitude level is 4 and his breaking point is at 3. So I have to eliminate his BSB or his general or that unit in the center entirely to win the game. I have a fortitude of 6. I have 3 unit standards. I have my BSB and my general, who is worth 2 points. So he has to eliminate either all of the characters in the Greatsword block, basically, the Inner Circle Knights, the Greatswords, and the Swordsmen, or some combination thereof to total up 3 fortitude points, which is possible but not very likely, although he is running a Lore of Metal Wizard with Final Transmutation. So really, there's definitely an element of chance there that he could, with an Uber spell, eliminate my characters and bring them at the end of the game right there. So, seeing as we're playing for the win here, the main objective on my part is to eliminate this center unit pictured here with the BSB The general, I do not believe, is in the unit right this second, but I'm sure he's going to hide him once he sees how much character assassination stuff I can do with magic. But here we go into the beginning of the Pirates' turn 1. The land ship advances. The rest of the army is going to stay static because it's not in their best interest to move. It's all move or fire weapons. He fires the cannon accompanied by a master engineer and the steam tank, hits it, and does 4 wounds to it. He fires the massive horde of handgunners and kills 5 swordsmen. He fires the light cannon from the land ship. It penetrates through the warrior priest. He fails his lookout, sir, and then it fails to wound the hurricane. The warrior priest takes D3 wounds, which is enough to kill him, and then the Hellblaster volley gun and the other unit of handgunners, despite shooting at long range, yada yada yada, kills 3 more Inner Circle Knights. So now we go to Empire turn 1. Real quick about his magic, I believe he rolled very low for magic and had cast something, and I just dispelled it. It was a very mediocre magic turn. So this is Empire turn 1. The steam tank generates 4 points without incident and uses 2 of them to advance up towards that horde of handgunners. Everything else just advances at full march. The demigriffs move in position in front of the Inner Circle Knights. I am going to end up bottling up my knights there and making it very difficult for them to advance, but I'd rather the demigriffs go because they're not worth a fortitude point. So here's what it looks like. In my turn, I don't believe my magic was very aggressive. My turn 1 magic, I had managed to cast Pit of Shades with Irresistible Force. The Pit of Shades I cast on top of his general with the intent to just kill him and end the game right there. It scattered and I believe killed his cannon. The Irresistible Force result was a 4, which on a miscast table does the large pie plate of strength 10 hits, which kills a boatload of swordsmen, putting that unit basically combat ineffective. He manages to save, I believe, the wound it causes to himself. And because it's so close to the steam tank and it's strength 10, it also causes a wound to the steam tank, which is not really possible to save even with 1-up armor against strength 10. So this is kind of scary. They pass their panic check, and the panic check caused by the killing of the cannon in the backfield, I believe he passes all that as well, since most of that stuff is within 12 inches of his general and his and his BSB. So, right off the bat, I'm not going to hold back at all. I'm going to throw everything at trying to eliminate that stuff. It would have been nice if Pit of Shades had been on target, but with the scattering, there's nothing really to say there. The one thing that I will comment that I probably should have done, and then I didn't really think about it at the time, was I should have put Melkoths on whatever my target was, hit that with the initiative reduction, and then use Pit of Shades or Penumbral Pendulum from there on out. But live and learn. I was a little trigger happy here and didn't take the time to properly debuff my target. So here you can see there's no more cannon. The Pistoliers had vanguarded up all the way on the right-hand side and are now kind of hanging out and lurking there. He reforms that detachment to face them and to threaten them and protect his back lines. And the land ship moves up directly in front of the demigriffs to block them and to kind of force the conflict there. He Irresistible Force casts Final Transmutation on the Greatswords in the Magic Phase. Exactly kind of the endgame scenario that I'm talking about. And now, with it, he has to roll a 6 on any multi-wound character. He does not roll a 6 for the BSB, he does not roll a 6 for the General, the Archlector, and he does not roll a 6 for the Witch Hunter. So with that, game is not over. We do get to continue playing. He had these awesome little gold markers to signify that the unit had been targeted by that and is subject to stupidity. And he kills about exactly math, or whatever, 10 or so greatswords, or 12 or so greatswords. So dodged a bullet there, could have been the end of the game. And the Irresistible Force that he rolls, unfortunately, he also rolls a 4. So it is large pie plate, removes a bunch of power dice from your pool, and then on top of that, you have to roll a d6, and on the 1 to 3, he is sucked into the warp, and on a 4 through 6, he is not. So I had just rolled this result and gotten an A4, meaning my dude was not sucked into the warp. Andrew rolls it, and he gets a 3, so pays for final transmutation with his life, and is sucked into the warp as a casualty. This causes panic checks in the back ranks. Everyone passes it except the mortar, who panics, as shown by that smoke puff. So you can see my sort of depleted units advancing up the center. The steam tank, I believe, was targeted by the light cannon on the land ship again, and is now severely wounded. I think it has like 8 wounds suffered so far. Yeah, here's a closer shot of that. Also, the wizard, I guess, had taken a wound from the miscast result. Andrew moves his BSB out of the main unit and puts his general in. He did this a lot, moving his characters alone in the backfield, and I didn't really understand it, but, you know, so be it. Beginning of Empire turn 3, I charge the Demigriff Knights into the land ship so that it can no longer threaten, you know, can no longer threaten my lines by just plugging up with an unbreakable unit. In retrospect, I probably should have just banked on killing the land ship. It's not very difficult to kill. It's hard to wound because it's toughness 6, but it's not very difficult to kill because it only has a 3-up armor save. So I probably should have just committed an Occam's Mind Razor unit of Inner Circle Knights to killing that. And between the 12 or 14 regular attacks plus the 6 horse kicks, all at strength 10, I probably could have blown it up in 1 or 2 turns. But I wasn't really thinking about it. My eyes was focused entirely on the prize. So that's that. The steam tank also tosses 3 steam points into the engine and barrels into the handgunners unit, so that's 40 some odd handgunners, so I don't have to worry about shooting anymore. The archers move in to protect this swordsman and give them hard cover against further shooting. The pistoliers reform into a single file line, march right around the pirates after testing for march blocking and passing, and then reform again on the inside to threaten the level 2 wizard. I would have liked to have threatened the captain, but at long range move and shoot, I'd be hitting on 6s, and I just didn't see it being... that's even assuming it's in range. It might have only been in range for a single guy at the end of their move, and I wasn't going to bother. I'm much more likely to take out the wizard there, and then worry about the captain in later turns. I cast Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma on the Hellblaster volley gun, reducing its ballistic skill to 1. And here's what the board looks like going into the top of turn 4. No, turn 3. This game was very slow. Here you can see the steam tank has taken another wound. It has 9 out of 10 wounds have been taken away. The land ship has taken several wounds, but I'm not going to kill it this game. I'll just tell you that straight out. Not entirely certain what this picture is meant to illustrate. Okay, well, in the pirate's turn, he countercharges the steam tank with the halberdiers. It's got 9 wounds out of its 10 wounds, so anything that he sneaks by, any failed, any wound at all, and it has to have a 2-up armor save, but, any one that I roll there is gonna destroy the steam tank. So he still has a strong block of swordsmen, plus he has his entire, from my perspective, the left side of the board, his entire right flank is still relatively strong, and I feel like that's pretty much the it's risky, we'll see if it pays off. The pistoliers put 1 wound on the wizard, as represented by that piece of 8, and the unit of free company or swordsman or whatever they're supposed to be reforms and shifts slightly so that they can box them in. So here you can see he causes some wounds with shooting with the mortar on the swordsman unit, which panics them. They are below 25%, so now they will only rally on Snake Eyes. So I've lost my level 4 wizard now. Okay, so here we go into the bottom of the turn and the beginning of my movement phase. Here's a kind of complex series of charges that I have to describe here, and I'm going to try to give you the order that makes the most sense. Now, the Inner Circle Knights do not have a possible charge as the board currently exists. The Great Swords do, and the Hurricanum does not, as long as the Great Swords are in front of it. I declare a charge on the handgunner unit with the Great Swords. This provokes a stand and shoot reaction, which I think causes like 1 or 2 wounds. Nothing really significant. I then declare a charge on the Hellblaster volley gun with the Celestial Hurricanum. And now that the Inner Circle Knights are revealed, I declare a charge on the, will be, should all these charges succeed, on the Swordsman. Now, it's a house of cards. If any of those units fails their charge, then the whole house collapses. Otherwise, I have to, everybody will stumble forward a few inches, and I'll have to eat another round of shooting, and possibly lose my bottled up board on the right hand side with the steam tank getting destroyed and only has 1 wound left. So it's kind of a gambit. I have to get into combat, and I have to eliminate that center block, which now contains all of his characters. Everybody's moved back in there and collapsed. But that's exactly what happens. The Great Swords have the riskiest charge. They make it handily. The Hurricanum completes its charge with no problem. And then the Knights, I think, rolled like a 5 and a 6 or something. So they were they had a very strong showing as well. In the back, the Pistoliers had also declared a charge on the mortar. However, it wasn't relevant to the goofiness of that massive like House of Cards charge that I had to do. But they made it into the mortar as well. So here's just a shot to show that. Over here, the Swordsman just moved to fire shots at his wizard, his level 2 wizard, who is hidden behind that unit. Really not much to be said here. He didn't want to join the combat with the wizard, because then that would just be bad news. Wouldn't be able to cast his fireball, which he'd been using to pretty devastating effect in this match. So he just wants to get hard cover from these archers. These archers are not really going to threaten him, but they're only 70 points, and who knows what will happen. Maybe they'll be able to stop those guys from they'll be positioned to charge that unit of handgunners or something. We'll see. And the Swordsmen continue to flee, taking my wizard with them. In the magic phase, I have no wizard. I roll a pretty, I think it was a mediocre roll, to be honest. But I have no Shadow Wizard. So I use that to get the Hammer of Sigmar to reroll failed wounds on this unit. So now it's got the usual combo that I employ, where they are hitting on 2s because of the Celestial Hurricanum. They have Hatred, so they're rerolling misses, and then they have the Hammer of Sigmar, so they're rerolling failed wounds. And the Demiurges keep churning away at the land ship, which has not caused a single wound to them, and they've caused 6 of its 12 wounds total. Once again, in hindsight, an Occam's Mind Razor probably actually could have eliminated this, but I didn't want to commit to it. However, at the end of that combat, the Great Swords completely wipe out the handgunners, and then reform to face the flank of the Swordsman. The Hurricanum wipes out the Hellblaster volley gun and successfully passes its leadership test to restrain and reform to face the Swordsman. And over here, the Inner Circle Knights actually do take. Remember, they were kind of depleted. Plus, I think I might have actually lost one of the dangerous terrain charging into the side of that woods there, and they do some pretty significant casualties to the to the unit of Swordsman. I don't believe I kill any of his characters, or maybe I killed one of his captains. I don't really remember what the exact chain of events was. Sorry. But suffice to say, even though I was charging into the unit with 2 ranks and a standard and a BSB with just my guys, it's either a draw, which we both have musicians, or a slight loss for me, but I'm stubborn, leadership 10. So at this point, it's important to say that we were almost out of our allotted time for this round, and this is there's a lot of movement, a lot of shooting, and a lot of participation in every phase of the game for this pirate army. So we tried to wrap it up, despite the tournament organizer kind of standing on our shoulder going, wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up. We were mostly left with really straightforward combats. Can those guys on the right eliminate the steam tank? Will they break the Inner Circle Knights? etc., etc. And I misspoke earlier. The Inner Circle Knights are not stubborn. They're just leadership 8. And, on the charge, it's very likely that they killed their way out of losing to 3 ranks standard and battle standard. But that's not likely to happen a second time, especially now that they don't have that massive bonus to combat resolution from Strength 6. But the Pistoliers eliminate the Mortar and Overrun. The Knights take 2 more casualties, bringing them down to 3. They cause some wounds, so they're now leadership, down from leadership 8 to something lower than that. And they hold with the general and the BSB. I then, on the bottom of the turn, flank charge with the greatswords and the Celestial Hurricanum, do a ton of casualties. The unit is no longer steadfast because I reformed for ranks with the greatswords. He has to test on Snake Eyes. He does not. The unit breaks. The battle standard is killed. The general and the unit standard and the battle standard are killed, which ends the game right there. The Knights, Hurricanum, and Greatswords all elect to pursue. The Hurricanum destroys itself, failing a dangerous terrain check, and because it's a chariot, in the woods, it takes like 6 wounds or whatever, so it actually destroys itself, costing me some victory points. However, but we were able to sweep the entire unit, catching the general as well, and the victory. Here's Andrew posing with his land ship. I didn't take a couple pictures, so I didn't have I didn't have one where he wasn't squinting, but he was a tremendously fun opponent. The end result, I believe, was like a 400, not a little more than that. It was like 400 or almost 500 point, almost 500 victory point margin for my Empire army once I eliminated that central block. And this was a tremendously fun game. I would have played this game. I would have played him anytime. This army is showing a lot of love, obviously, in the paint job and the attention to detail, even down to marking out his deployment zone with the with booty. With the final transmutation, gold markers for stupidity checks, pieces of 8 wound markers for his characters, and a dispel scroll, which was a treasure map, of course, with a little X marks the spot and a death's head skull on it, and his Goonies shirt. Dude was a total package. It was an awesome opponent to play against, and I wanted to congratulate him on the loss, so to speak, because I think he played a very good game with a certainly not very power gamey army. And the like the land ship, for example, there's no reason to take the land ship, but love for the model and love for the rules, because it's straight up less efficient than the Steam Tank in this edition. So I wanted to congratulate him on bringing that army. I thought it was an excellent game. But so that's a win 1 for myself, putting me. I don't think it was the highest margin of victory for game 1. I may be incorrect there, but sends me to top table to play the Chaos Demon player in game 2. So look for that. And thanks for watching Battle Report, and have a good one.